Hello and welcome. Tonight, Plateau State government bans night grazing and movement of cattle after 7 p.m. until further notice as a way of checking the carnage that has so far claimed over 100 lives in the last 2 weeks. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia confirms arrest of 3 persons over the killing of 11 people in Otobi community of a Trukpo local government area of the state. Lagos High Court declares the removal of reinstated Speaker of Lagos House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. And Israeli Defense Minister says troops will remain in so-called security zones in Gaza even after the war has ended.
On business news tonight, Dangote Refinery slashes ex-depot price of petrol for the second time in a week to 835 naira per litre, names 6 key retail partners for availability.
On sports news tonight, Arsenal currently leads 15-time champions Real Madrid and are set to qualify for the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League.
And from the nation's capital, at least 15 million Nigerians are at risk of being displaced by floods this year. That's according to Vice President Kashim Shettima. He assures that the federal government is working to forestall the disaster.
We start off in Plateau State, where government, in its efforts to restore calm and strengthen vigilance in communities experiencing disturbances, has announced measures to prevent further breakdown of law and order, as well as reinforce confidence in the people. Governor Caleb Mutfwang, in a state broadcast, ordered the prohibition of night grazing of cattle, a ban on transportation of cattle by vehicle after 7 p.m., as well as restrictions on the use of motorcycles from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. across the state until further notice.
The last couple of days have been agonizing for the people and government of Plateau State. Communities have suffered devastating attacks that have left many dead, more injured, and much more displaced.
I stand resolved.
In its efforts to restore calm and provide assurance, the state governor, through a state broadcast, addressed the residents of the state.
Plateau shall not be overrun by fear, nor shall we accept this culture of bloodshed as the new normal. My administration is intensifying efforts to protect our people and enforce the rule of law across all local governments. But let me reassure you, my government is alive to its constitutional responsibility of protecting lives and property, and we are rising to the occasion more determined than ever.
He also outlined some measures to prevent further attacks.
To restore calm and strengthen vigilance, I hereby announce the following measures effective Wednesday, April 16th. Night grazing of cattle is strictly prohibited. Transportation of cattle by vehicle is banned after 7 p.m. The use of motorcycles is restricted from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. across the state until further notice. We're also activating community-based response systems. I urge the traditional leaders and youth associations to reactivate local vigilante groups and organize night patrols in coordination with the security agencies.
Following the orders of the governor in the broadcast, the State Interreligious Advisory Council convened an emergency meeting as a prelude to engagement with stakeholders to look into the incessant attacks.
If what they have agreed in the council administration for peace to reign in Gaza, and for this to happen, is very representative. We have invited those who signed their agreement to come to brief us, brief this council on why this happened. Because we can't sit, agree on something. It took us a long time to come to that agreement. And for it to be broken, it's a serious problem.
A special envoy on peace to lead grassroots consultations and intelligence coordination is to be appointed by the governor to complement the efforts of the Interreligious Council as part of steps to address the lingering issue.
In Benue State, Governor Hyacinth Alia has confirmed the arrest of 3 suspects in connection with the attacks on some communities in Otobi, in Otukpo local government area. Briefing journalists at the government house in Makodi, the Benue State capital, Governor Alia condemned the attacks that led to the killing of 11 people at Otobi community, urging security agencies to track down the perpetrators and bring them to justice. The governor also announced the deployment of security personnel to the affected area, with 3 people already arrested in connection with the attacks.
As the NSA just assured me last night again, they are going to put again in place, in our support, everything that requires to be done. There are certain people who were even born on the land. They are of the herders' ethnicity. But before now, they were harmless. So the new face we are saying it, the bad guys come in, someone must be an insider who is orchestrating this. So they come in, they're hidden in some angle, and then when they want to strike, they are brought to the front, they strike, and then they disappear, they just vanish. A few arrests were made sometime last week. I can't be too open on these because they're already, the security people are handling that. So until we know the mission of those people who were caught, 5 of them came, 3 were caught, so 2 escaped. And then the follow-up of that is the attacks again we're seeing here.
A few hours after the governor confirmed the arrest of some suspects in connection with the attacks that led to the killing of 11 people at Otobi community, some persons suspected to be herdsmen have yet again struck, as no fewer than 3 communities in the same Otukpo local government area have been affected. Other communities affected in today's attacks include Emichi, Odudaje and Okwamaju, all in Otukpo. Indeed, it's a challenging time for Nigeria in protecting lives and property. Yet, Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa is asking media practitioners to collaborate with the military and other security agencies in its fight against insecurity in the country. Speaking in Abuja at the first quarter media stakeholders seminar, the Chief of Defense Staff, who was represented by the Chief of Defense Policy and Plans, Air Vice Marshal Shayo Olatunde, says the media remains a critical component in the fight against insecurity. He adds that the role of the media in modern warfare is beyond its traditional scope of information dissemination.
The need for a whole society approach in the fight against insecurity is the reason for this event, as the Defense Headquarters hosts its first quarter media stakeholders seminar. The role of the media as an integral component in the execution of tactical, operational, and strategic plans for shaping public perceptions and opinions is the focus of the address of the Chief of Defense Staff, who is represented at the event.
Today, media are integral to the execution of tactical, operational, and strategic plans, and further serve as a powerful tool for shaping public perception and opinions while ensuring transparency and accountability among military forces. As we are all aware, the contemporary security landscape is not only characterized by conventional and asymmetric threats, but also involves a battle of narrative among opposing forces.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who was also represented at the event, appeals to the media not to promote the propaganda of terrorists by giving prominence to their cowardly acts.
The media, without doubt, is a worthy partner in our national security architecture. As the watchdog of the society, the press must strike a delicate balance between the public's right to know and the imperative to protect national interest. I urge our media stakeholders to deny terrorists the oxygen of publicity by refusing to give prominence to their cowardly acts.
The seminar, with the theme Media as a Key Component of Joint Task Force Commanders' Operational Success, attracted participants from across various media platforms and theater commanders.
In River State, a growing chorus of dissent continues to echo through the streets. Once again, the women folk are at the forefront, marching across the state. Under the banner, Rivers Women Unite Prayer Group, they call for the immediate and unconditional end to what they refer to as an unconstitutional emergency rule imposed on the state. Their message, enough is enough. Our correspondent Charles Oporum now reports.
Draped in red, a symbol of urgency, pain and resistance, with their mouths gagged and arms tied, these women of River State are making a bold statement that their state has been silenced. They marched through the streets of Port Harcourt on a divine mission to intercede for their state. From the now iconic Isaac Borough Park around Mile 1, they marched through Old GRE, down to the Eastern Bypass and onto Moscow Road and beyond to Creek Road. Their movements are interspersed with prayers.
Governor Semilai Fubara must be returned back to his elected position. Even the president made that clear by his statement that he is coming back, and we believe he is coming back. The concern I personally have is that when is he coming back?
One by one, others also make their voices heard, crying out in anguish for their governor.
We are saying that we never had any problem in River State. River State is a peaceful state. We, the youth, were going about doing our normal business, and God has been helping us. This state of emergency, I think, is not necessary.
A former commissioner for information in the state weighs in on the situation.
Even at the height of provocation, you can see the place is still peaceful. Nobody's fighting. Even at the height of provocation. How is it that it is only in River State that you suspended democracy? How is it that it is only in River State that you're saying that our governor, the person that we went to the polls to elect, should no longer sit in government house? Who does that?
At the end of the march, they read a communique containing their demands, including an immediate reversal to the state of emergency.
We therefore demand the following without equivocation.
Yes, sir.
1. The immediate removal of the River State Commissioner of Police.
Yes.
CP Olubenga Adepoju. 2. An urgent and total end to the illegal state of emergency imposed on River State.
Yes.
3. The full restoration of all democratic institutions, including the restatement of the duly elected governor.
The river's political crisis continues to deepen, and these women have added their voices, not with weapons, but with prayer and protest. From all indications, more protests are likely to take place across the state while the emergency rule lasts. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
But with all that's going on in Rivers, the Ad Hoc Committee on River State Oversight has invited the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, to appear before it on Thursday, April the 17th, for an interactive session. A statement by the spokesman of the House, Akin Rotimi, the interactive session will take place at 4 p.m. in room 414, House of Representatives complex. The summons is coming after a 21-member committee chaired by the House leader, Professor Julius Nyonwere, was inaugurated by the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, yesterday. The committee was constituted by the House of Representatives following the resolution of the National Assembly approving the presidential proclamation of a state of emergency in Rivers. According to Professor Nyonwere, this engagement is necessary to ascertain the true state of affairs in the state and ensure that the House remains properly guided in the discharge of its oversight responsibilities in the public interest. In part two, after the break, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission assures Nigerian investors in digital trading company CBEX, which crashed on Monday, that the agency is working in collaboration with Interpol to ensure the perpetrators are brought to justice. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Plateau State government bans night grazing and movement of cattle after 7 p.m. until further notice, as a way of checking the carnage that has so far claimed over 100 lives in the last 2 weeks. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia confirms arrest of 3 persons over the killing of 11 persons in Otobi Community, Otopo local government area of the state. Lagos High Court declares the removal of reinstated Speaker of Lagos House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. And Israeli Defense Minister says troops will remain in so-called security zones in Gaza even after the war has ended. Former Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has petitioned the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, over what he described as alleged defamatory statements made against him by the suspended senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. In that petition, written by his solicitor, Mr. Eni Abubakar Esquire, to the IGP on Wednesday, Mr. Bello called on the Nigerian police under the leadership of Mr. Egbetokun to invite Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan to substantiate her allegation against him with credible evidence. He said that the utterances made against the former governor were not only false, reckless and inciting, but they constitute serious criminal defamation, false accusation and incitement to public disorder, all of which are offenses under the Nigerian law. The former governor has also written to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan through his counsels demanding retraction and a public apology over the defamatory statements made against him in 2 national dailies, or face legal consequences. And to the courts, and the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja has declared the removal of the reinstated Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mr. Mudashiru Obasa, as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. In a judgment delivered today, the court also nullified the proceedings and resolutions of the House held on January the 13th this year, during which Mr. Obasa was ousted. Mr. Mudashiru Obasa had filed a suit against the House of Assembly and the newly appointed Speaker at the time, Mojisola Miranda, to challenge the legality of his removal. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, says it has launched an investigation in collaboration with the International Criminal Police Organization, that's Interpol, and other international partners into the alleged fraud perpetrated by a digital investment platform, crypto bank exchange, otherwise known as CBEX. Now, the spokesperson of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Dele Oyewale, says the trading company, CBEX, has no jurisdictional link to Nigeria. He was reacting to the outcry of Nigerians over their missing funds in the investment scheme. Today on our breakfast program, The Morning Brief, Mr. Oyewale assured victims that work is ongoing to bring the perpetrators to justice.
That business venture is a Chinese digital trading company with no jurisdictional link with Nigeria. Not jurisdiction. All these area offices that people are saying, okay, are doing Ibadan, they have one office there in some other location. They are not practical offices. They are not functional offices. The entire thing is entirely digital. It's online. And it has no jurisdictional link of whatsoever with Nigeria. You know, it is to the credit of the EFCC chairman that he came forward to say that there are 58 companies that Nigerians are patronizing, that they should no longer patronize. He came forward, he said, let the public know. And we brought it to the public domain. So if the commission is as proactive as that, then the rest is for the people concerned, to be more vigilant. So we have spread out our wings. We are talking to Interpol. We are talking to all the necessary agencies across the world to be able to bring all the actors. We are going to bring them to book. And investors, they are going to have their money back. It might not be in the short term, but I can assure you that the Commission, as the leading anti-corruption agency in Nigeria, is not going to allow investors to just lose their money like that.
All right, let's get more news and reports from the nation's capital, and Victoria Longjohn is standing by to give us the latest at our Abuja studios. Hello, Victoria.
Thank you, Ayo. At least 15 million Nigerians are at risk of flood disasters in 2025. Vice President Kashim Shettima disclosed this at the commencement of a one-day validation workshop on the Anticipatory Action Framework for Nigeria held at the National Counter-Terrorism Center in the Office of the National Security Advisor. He also assures of the efforts of the federal government to forestall the disaster through proactive measures. Our State House correspondent Emperor Simon reports.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, the National Security Advisor, representatives of government agencies and humanitarian experts in Nigeria converge on the National Counterterrorism Center in Abuja to brainstorm on solutions to the challenges of floods and other disasters in the country. The federal government has designed an anticipatory action framework to strengthen coordinated risk monitoring and communication. This workshop seeks to validate the document.
As we are aware, unmanaged disasters can exacerbate insecurity, enable displacement, disrupt critical infrastructure, and deepen societal fragilities. Strengthening our anticipatory capacity is therefore essential to protect lives, secure national assets, and reinforce the resilience of our communities.
In the face of dwindling foreign aids, experts commend the proactive step taken by the federal government.
It shows how people are the center of the thinking and the action of this new administration. And on behalf of United Nations, I wanted to commend you for that one.
OCHA supporters are in the IDPs in hard-to-reach areas. They are collapsing their office today. These are questions we must ask. And I'm sure under the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President, we are charting a new path to prioritize anticipation, coordination, and action.
Vice President Kashim Shettima decries the impact of flood on livelihood and underscores the need for collective efforts to mitigate future disasters.
We lose close to 5% of our GDP every year to reactive disaster responses. This approach is not only unsustainable, it is also deeply unjust to the most vulnerable amongst us. This workshop must be guided by the tragic reminder that 15 million Nigerians remain at high risk of loss this season.
He commiserates with the government and people of Plateau State over the recent attacks by armed men and advocates a sustainable approach to addressing the challenge of insecurity in the country. Over 300 people lost their lives and 1.3 million others affected by floods across 34 states in Nigeria in 2024, according to a report by the National Emergency Management Agency. The rainy season is here again, and tension could be high, especially in flood-prone areas. But the federal government is allaying fears of a recurrence through effective implementation of the Anticipatory Action Framework. From the National Counterterrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor in Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And as part of efforts to enhance emergency response capabilities and strengthen community safety, the Nigerian Air Force has unveiled the first batch of its newly upgraded fire tenders. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, describes the feat as a demonstration of the Air Force's commitment to both national defense and humanitarian support. The ceremony, which held in Abuja, marks the official rollout of 8 fully modernized fire trucks as part of a broader initiative to upgrade 19 units across the service.
This event, not merely a symbolic gesture, but a visible demonstration of our commitment, operational readiness, safety, and enhanced emergency response capability. It is indeed a testament to the fulfillment of my command philosophy, transform the Nigerian Air Force into an agile and resilient force that effectively meets the air power demands of national security in all operational environments. The overarching objective of my command philosophy is to reposition the Nigerian Air Force to effectively fulfill its constitutional mandate of defending the territorial integrity of our nation through the air. In pursuit of this imperative, my administration has placed air operations at the heart of our strategic focus, with particular emphasis on fleet expansion, combat readiness, and operational safety.
Now still ahead on the news at 10, Dangote Refinery slashes ex-depot price of petrol for the second time in a week to 835 naira per litre, names 6 key retail partners for availability. That's some business news to join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. The Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says President Bola Tinubu's administration is committed to promoting road connectivity in the nation's capital. Mr. Wike was speaking during an inspection tour of some ongoing road construction projects in Wuye and Idu districts in the nation's capital. He also commended the state of work by contractors handling the Idu Road project. Our correspondent, Kumbi Abuluwade, reports.
Each time I go there, I have complained as we are entering the roughness, but now you can see they have gone to improve on it. But I want to impress that from that Idu, it takes you to going to the road to Zuba, and that is very important for us. And the Northern Expressway is part of what we think. Which is being handled by Gilmore, will also be commissioned in May. I'm impressed with the bridge work. If you had followed us to that place before that, you'll be thinking that it will be difficult. Now, they are succeeded in crossing over the rail line, and they have almost, by the end of the week, they have said next week, they will have casting the concrete of the bridge. And it gives us pleasure. We're happy with what we're doing, and we're also happy that the people are happy. You can imagine the communities there, how they feel that today they have a road connecting them to other parts of Abuja. That, of course, is the New Hope agenda. We're happy that the promises made are being kept to the glory of God.
To Taraba State now, where the governor, Agu Kefas, says his administration is taking the right steps to change the narrative of underdevelopment and putting the state in its rightful position. Governor Kefas, at an event to inaugurate the state's International Investment Committee, says the move became necessary in view of the state's abundant yet untapped natural resources that requires proper harnessing.
For the first time, the Taraba state government is making plans to organize an international investment summit to market its homegrown talents and technologies, opportunities in mining, forestry and industrialization, among others that abound in the state. The committee, led by Ndudi Elumelu, a former member of the House of Representatives, is also aimed at placing the state on a global map to attract local and international investors, even as it reveals that the event is coming at a time when Africa is in dire need of economic rediscovery.
I sincerely commend Governor Kefas for setting the pace with his vision, foresight, and ingenuity in repositioning Taraba State as a trade center in national economic renaissance, as evidenced in his massive strategic investment in infrastructure and development of productive prospects in various sectors of the economy in the state.
Governor Agbukefas, while inaugurating the committee, described the state as blessed with natural resources, which makes it a hub for investors and capable of transforming the state. According to him, the summit will stimulate economic activities, boosting domestic and foreign direct investment.
Our state is poised to be a leader in sustainable development, and this summit will serve as a powerful platform to showcase these strengths to the whole world. The success of this summit, therefore, hinges on the strong cooperation and seamless synergy among all of you that we inaugurated today. It is paramount that we work swiftly and efficiently. I urge you to leverage your unique strengths, maintain open lines of communication, and operate in the spirit of unity and collaboration. Let us set ambitious milestones, support one another, and go all out for excellence at the very top and every step we take. Our collective effort today will pave the way for the Taraba Investment Summit to become a landmark event.
The governor believes the summit will be the beginning of a unique turnaround that will transform all sectors of the state's economy.
The Jigawa state government has unveiled an ambitious plan to produce 3.6 million metric tons of rice annually, as Governor Umar Namadi flagged off the 2025 dry season rice production program in Ayo local government area. Our correspondent reports that the event also marked the launch of the Jigawa Rice Value Chain Development Initiative, a key strategy to make Jigawa Nigeria's leading rice producer.
Farmers, officials, and agricultural stakeholders gathered in Ayo to witness the flag-off of the 2025 dry season rice program. Governor Umar Namadi said the state targets 3.6 million metric tons of rice annually through the cultivation of 1.2 million hectares of land.
Today's program clearly demonstrates our collective determination to take action that facilitate the attainment of those overarching objectives of agricultural transformation agenda and firmly position Jigawa State as a Nigerian agricultural powerhouse.
Under the new scheme, 58,000 farmers will receive subsidized inputs, including certified seeds, fertilizers, agrochemicals, and 20,000 water pumps, half solar-powered, half fuel-powered, to boost irrigation during the dry season.
To achieve our goal, we will be implementing unprecedented support measures under the Rice Value Chain Development Program, which include the following. Number one, provision of input subsidies to 58,500 farmers, of which 40,000 smallholder farmers will receive up to 30% subsidy, and other large-scale farmers will receive up to 10% subsidies.
In a related development, the wife of the Jigawa State Governor, Hadiza Umar Namadi, distributed agricultural inputs and cash grants to 100 beneficiaries under the Renewed Hope Agricultural Support Initiative.
Today, we are gathered to witness the distribution of life-transforming agricultural inputs and cash grants. A total of 68,913,513 naira in both kind and cash is being disbursed across 27 local government areas of Jigawa State.
She also launched young farmers clubs in primary and junior secondary schools to introduce agriculture to the youth at an early age.
We are flagging off Young Farmers Club under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with Renewed Hope Initiative.
Agricultural stakeholders say Jigawa's approach, blending mechanization, youth engagement, and strong institutional partnerships could become a model for national agricultural transformation. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
And civil society organizations have called on members of the Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas, to come together and reform the sub-regional body urgently. In their submissions at the Stakeholders Forum in Abuja, they called for people-centered governance to address the key challenges facing the region.
Where there are challenges by the citizens and they are airing their voices and they don't have democratic ways of airing those voices, then it becomes a very big challenge. So it's not about disintegrating, but rather we want more unity because we have ECOWAS. We also have the African Union. We want to have, the ECOWAS example is an example of free flow. You can move around the entire, ECOWAS sub-region without being harassed and so on. But we also need to look at the content of that, and we need to look at examples of EU. EU, you can go to all the countries. AU, you cannot go to all the countries. So we are looking at forms of unity. What unites Africa?
It's an inability to manage a successful transition of the four countries. It's a very good example for us to see the reality of the challenge that we are facing. ECOWAS' inability to stem the tide of presidential term elongation, as we witnessed in Senegal quite recently. And even if you look at the situation that is happening in Togo, where there's a constitutional reform process that didn't even go through a referendum, aimed at imposing a particular regime over the country for a long period of time. These are existential threats that ECOWAS needs to analyze and find better approaches and strategies to remain relevant.
And that's it from the nation's capital. It's now over to Dominic for business news.
Thank you, Victoria. Welcome to Business News. Just 1 week after it slashed the ex-depot price of premium motor spirits, Africa's largest crude refiner, Dangote Refinery has again reduced the price of the commodity to 835 naira per litre. The move, which comes ahead of the Easter break, marks a 15 naira drop from the 865 naira lower cost of the commodity, which was announced on Wednesday last week, and a third downward adjustment in 6 weeks. A statement issued by the refinery on the reduction also mentions that the high-quality petrol will now be available at various prices across 6 of its key partner outlets in the country, which include MRS, Ardova, Hayden, Optima Energy, Hyde, and Techno Oil. The company says it expects that this latest reduction in PMS prices will generate a positive ripple effect throughout various sectors of the economy and provide much-needed relief to consumers and contributing to broader economic growth, particularly during the Easter season. The World Trade Organization has issued a fresh warning over the global economy due to the impact of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs announcements. In its latest Global Trade Outlook and Statistics report released today, the 166-member intergovernmental organization says the volume of world merchandise trade is now expected to decline by 0.2% this year, before posting a modest recovery of 2.5% in 2026, based on the tariffs currently in place and include a 90-day suspension of reciprocal tariffs. The WTO explains that the outlook for the global trade has deteriorated sharply due to a surge in tariffs and trade policy uncertainty, and one that severe downside risk exists, which could particularly hurt export-oriented and least developed countries. Multinational professional services firm PricewaterhouseCoopers has closed its operations and withdrawn from 9 sub-Saharan African countries. In a statement posted on its website, the company, which is known globally as one of the Big 4 accounting firms, says the move is part of a strategic review. The affected countries include Cameroon, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Gabon, Madagascar, the Republic of Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Republic of Congo. Although PwC's statement did not elaborate on its reasons for exiting the countries, the firm explained that it remains committed to serving clients in Africa through its offices in key markets such as Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya. The local bourse reversed the gains earlier recovered on Tuesday as the impact of sell pressure caused more than 426 billion naira decline in value, while the index fell below the 104,000 level. Willie Bong tells us more.
to the stock market reports. It's day 3 of trading and the market has lost more than it gained in Tuesday's session. The reason behind this drop? The banking sector. The index fell nearly 5% today, and this is largely from huge markdowns from dividend payments from some banking stocks. Let's blow this up a bit. GTCO, Zenith, and the Fidelity Banks marked down for dividend payouts today. GTCO is paying shareholders a total dividend of 7 naira 3 kobo. Zenith Bank is paying a total of 4 naira, while Fidelity Bank is coming up strongly with a 1 naira 25 kobo payout. Now, this markdown had a huge impact on the share prices of GTCO and Zenith Bank, and that's why we see that dip causing the all-share index to pull back because they are heavyweights. Now, but it's less than 48 hours to Good Friday, and I'm sure many investors are going to be having a hearty celebration because of this. And that's the stock market report. Will Ibong signing out.
United States stocks were heavily impacted as sell-off in tech shares and concerns over trade war dented global market sentiments at the close of midweek trading session. Here are some of the closing figures. And that's it on Business News. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Dominic. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz says troops will remain in the so-called security zones they have established by seizing large areas of Gaza even after an end to the war. Mr. Katz said the zones would provide a buffer to protect Israeli communities in any temporary or permanent situation, and that 10% of the Palestinian territory had been added since the Israeli offensive resumed 3 weeks ago. Here's Sami Pusi from our London studios with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Joe Biden has used his first speech since leaving office to criticize the Trump administration's welfare policies.
My dad, the Biden family, started off.
The ex-US president told a conference in Chicago that the government had taken a hatchet to the Social Security system, which Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who is leading the White House's cost-cutting efforts, claim is beset by fraud. The administration wants to cut staff at the agency responsible for spending $1.6 trillion in benefits a year. Mr. Biden, who was speaking at a disability rights event, did not address his departure from the White House or the 2024 presidential election in his remarks.
To cap it all off, serious people are now generally concerned for the first time in history, for the first and only time in history, that Social Security benefits may be delayed or interrupted. Folks, let's put this in perspective. In the 90 years since Franklin Roosevelt created the Social Security system, people have always gotten their Social Security checks. They've gotten them during wartime, during recessions, during a pandemic, no matter what, they got them. But now, for the first time ever, that might change. It would be calamity for millions of families, millions of people.
This is your missionary Josh Sullivan here.
An American pastor kidnapped by armed men during a church service in South Africa has been freed following a high-intensity shootout that left 3 people dead. Josh Sullivan was found unharmed in the township in the Eastern Cape on Tuesday evening, the area where the 45-year-old was taken last Thursday. There were no immediate details on the kidnappers who made a ransom demand. There has been a dramatic increase in kidnappings for ransom in South Africa over the past decade. Peru's former president, Ollanta Humala, has been found guilty of money laundering and sentenced to 15 years in prison. A court in the capital, Lima, said he had accepted illegal funds from the Venezuelan president at the time, Hugo Chavez, and from a Brazilian construction company to bankroll his election campaigns in 2006 and 2011. His wife, Nadine Heredia, was also found guilty of money laundering and sentenced to 15 years. However, she had been granted safe passage to Brazil after seeking asylum in the Brazilian embassy. Humala's lawyer said he would appeal against the conviction. Shares in Nvidia have plunged after the computer chip giant said it would be hit by £5.5 billion in costs due to the US government tightening its export rules to China. The firm, which has been at the heart of the artificial intelligence boom, will require licenses to export its H20 AI chip to China, which has been one of its most popular. The rules come as part of an escalating trade war between the US and China, with both countries introducing steep trade tariffs on each other, covering various goods. Members of the World Health Organization have agreed to the text of a legally binding treaty designed to better tackle future pandemics. The pact is meant to avoid the disorganization and competition for resources seen during the COVID-19 outbreak. Key elements include the rapid sharing of data about new diseases to ensure scientists and pharmaceutical companies can work more quickly to develop treatments and vaccines.
By reaching this milestone together, you have made history and shown how powerful collaboration can be. Multilateralism is alive and well.
1 und go.
And a Swiss and Austrian climbing pair have shattered the speed record for completing the daunting north faces of a famed trio of Swiss mountains, the Eiger, Monk and Jungfrau. Switzerland's Nicholas Hojak and Austria's Philipp Brugger shaved nearly 10 hours off the previous record set more than 2 decades ago. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. We begin with some cheering news for Arsenal. And that's because the club are in the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League for the first time since 2009, thumping holders Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate. The Gunners had won the first leg 3-0 at the Emirates and went to Santiago Bernabeu earlier today to beat the 15-time champions 2-1. Bukayo Saka had missed a penalty, but he redeemed himself to put the Gunners ahead. Vinicius Jr. pulled one back before Gabriel Martinelli sealed the remarkable victory for the Gunners. They will now face PSG for a place in the finals of the competition. In other game, Inter Milan also made the last 4, beating Bayern Munich 4-3 on aggregate. And Nigeria American Football Association is shifting the narrative to ensure more girls play the sports with the introduction of Graded On Gems with the theme, She Hurdles, She Wins. With the camp for the women's national team camp opening on April 26, the association is focusing on creating an environment where women can lead, excel, and shape their own narratives.
The Graded On Gems initiative was created to answer a question, where are the girls? Because we looked across the field, we've seen a lot of male referees, male coaches, and the game is actually being played more by men. The lowest hanging fruit, even though it looks far, is to prepare women for the national team to play at the LA 28 Olympics.
I've been playing sports since the age of 7, played all the way to a national level where I broke records, and today some of these records still stand. So I played discus, netball, hockey, tennis, athletics. I did a lot. And today, if I look back and now I'm a CEO and also the first woman in Nigerian history to own and hold a telecoms license and build a mobile network. And I look back and I'm like, I look back and I wonder, where did I get these traits from? And I really believe it's from playing sports, right? It's a discipline, it's decision making, it's the ability to be like emotionally intelligent.
But let's bring you up to speed with the Nigeria Women Football League Premiership Match Day 12, where Benue Queens finally recorded their first win of the season with a 1-0 victory over Ibom Angels. While champions Edo Queens maintained their unbeaten run with their 3-1 win over Danas Ladies. In other results, Rivers Angels spanked Delta Queens 3-0, while Adamawa Queens and Bayelsa Queens settled for a 1-0 draw. Heartland Queens, Remo Stars Ladies also shared same results. Nigeria Hotels pipped FC Robo by a lone goal, while the game between Ekiti Queens and Nasarawa Amazons ended 2-2. And that's sports. I am Kelly Egiga. It's back to you today.
And the main news again. The Plateau State government has banned night grazing and movement of cattle after 7 p.m. until further notice as a way of checking the carnage that has so far claimed over 100 lives in the last 2 weeks. And the Benue State Governor Hyacinth Ali today confirmed the arrest of 3 persons over the killing of 11 people in Otobi community of Tukpo local government area of the state on Monday. The governor also announced the deployment of more security personnel to the affected area. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Do have a good night.